My name is Elena Mercer, and the last thing my uncle ever called me before Christmas destroyed his confidence was unemployed and lazy. He said it loudly, he said it smiling, he said it like a punchline everyone was expected to laugh at. Before I tell you how that ended, let me ask you something. Have you ever been humiliated by your own family? Have you ever had someone who shared your blood reduce you to a joke? If you have, write it in the comments, share this story with someone who needs it, and stay until the end because what happened on Christmas wasn't revenge, it was exposure. It started months earlier at a Sunday dinner I almost didn't attend. I was standing near the kitchen island, holding a glass of water I didn't need, when my Uncle Victor cleared his throat like he was about to announce something important. "So," he said, leaning back in his chair, eyes sweeping the table before landing on me, "Elena's still between jobs." Between jobs. I didn't say anything. He chuckled. Or maybe just not looking? A few people laughed. Not hard, not proud. The kind of laughter people use to avoid discomfort. My mother looked down at her plate. I felt my jaw tighten. Victor wasn't just my uncle, he was the uncle. Loud, successful, always bragging about his contacts, his investments, the way he built himself from nothing. In our family, his voice carried weight. When he spoke, people listened. When he joked, people followed along. And when he labeled you, it stuck. "You know," he continued, waving his fork toward me, "some people just don't have that drive. They like the idea of success, just not the work." I finally looked at him. He was smiling at me like he was offering advice, not humiliation. "I'm working," I said evenly. He raised his eyebrows. "Doing what?" I paused. I had practiced this silence. I had rehearsed it. "Building something," I replied. That's when he laughed. Not a chuckle, a real laugh. Head back, shoulders shaking. "Oh, Elena," he said, wiping his mouth. "Everyone's building something these days. Apps, brands, dreams. Doesn't mean it pays." He glanced around the table. Right? No one contradicted him. From that night on, it became his favorite story. At barbecues, birthdays, group chats, Victor would mention me like a cautionary tale. "Elena's still finding herself. Elena's got another idea. Elena's allergic to real work." Once, at a family gathering, I overheard him say, "She's smart, sure, just lazy. Wants money without effort." Lazy. That word followed me everywhere. What none of them knew, what Victor especially didn't know, was that I wasn't allowed to talk. I was under NDA, strict ones, the kind that come with serious money and serious consequences. The funding for my startup was anonymous by design. No names, no faces, no public association until launch. Silence wasn't weakness, it was a requirement. But to them, silence looked like failure. Every time Victor mocked people who think they can run companies, he was mocking the one I was building, the one already in pilot, the one already profitable, and he had no idea. By the time the Christmas invitation arrived in my inbox, I already knew two things. Victor would be there, and this time I wasn't going to explain myself. I was going to let the truth walk into the room on its own. By the time my family decided I was officially doing nothing, I was working 18-hour days and sleeping with my phone under my pillow. Their version of my life was neat, simple, embarrassing. Mine was anything but. I woke up before sunrise every day to investor updates and overseas calls. I learned how to sound calm while my hands shook. I learned how to negotiate while my chest burned with anxiety. I learned how to smile through video meetings while my bank balance flickered between terrifying and triumphant. But at family dinners, I was still the unemployed niece. Victor made sure of it. One afternoon, he cornered me in my mother's living room holding a beer like a prop. "You know," he said, lowering his voice like he was doing me a favor, "I could talk to a guy, get you something stable. Entry level, sure, but honest." "I'm not looking," I replied. He smirked. "That's the problem." He said it kindly. That was his trick. Insults wrapped in concern. "You're not 22 anymore. Dreams expire." I nodded because explaining would have cost me everything. What he didn't see were the contracts I reviewed at midnight, the manufacturing delays that nearly killed us, the lawyer who warned me one wrong sentence could collapse the funding, the investor who told me flat out, if your family knows, we walk. So I stayed quiet, and Victor got louder. At a cousin's engagement party, he raised his glass and announced, "Here's to ambition, real ambition, not these imaginary startups people hide behind." His eyes flicked to me. Someone laughed, someone else shifted uncomfortably. I tasted blood where I bit my tongue. What cut deepest wasn't the cruelty, it was the precision. He knew exactly where to aim. He knew I couldn't defend myself, and he enjoyed the imbalance. One night, scrolling through emails between supplier negotiations, I saw his name pop up. Subject: distributor application. I stared at it for a full minute. He had applied to my company, not knowing it was mine. Different branding, different corporate shell, no founder listed, no public leadership, just the product, my product, and the distribution terms. I opened the application slowly. There it was, his confidence, his arrogance, his assumption that success belonged to people like him. He even wrote, "I bring decades of experience and expect exclusivity." I laughed, out loud, alone in my apartment. 2 weeks later, during a video call, my operations lead asked, "Thoughts on the Victor Mercer application?" I leaned back in my chair. "Decline," I said. No hesitation, no explanation. "But his reach—" "Decline," I repeated. I drafted the letter myself, formal, polite, unforgiving. "Thank you for your interest. After careful consideration, we've decided not to move forward." I signed it, founder and CEO. Then I printed it. I placed it in a clean, white envelope, and I waited, because Christmas was coming, and Victor still thought I was lazy. Christmas arrived wrapped in noise, laughter spilling out of the house before I even rang the bell. The smell of roasted meat and cinnamon hit me as the door opened, warm and aggressive. My aunt pulled me into a hug that felt more curious than loving, her eyes already scanning my coat, my hands, my posture, looking for evidence of failure. "Still no job?" she whispered, like a secret. I smiled and stepped inside. Victor was already there. Of course he was, holding court near the fireplace, drink in hand, voice carrying effortlessly over the room. "Elena!" he boomed when he saw me. "You made it!" Like he hadn't been expecting me to show up empty-handed and embarrassed. "Wouldn't miss it," I said. He nodded approvingly. "Good. Family keeps you grounded." Grounded was his word for small. Dinner was loud, chaotic, everyone talking over each other. Victor told a story about a deal he almost closed, embellishing every detail. I ate quietly, listening, counting beats, letting the tension coil tighter with every laugh. Then came the gifts. I went first. I handed my mother a box she'd mentioned once, months ago. Her eyes widened. "How did you—" "You said you liked it," I replied. My cousin got something custom. My aunt gasped. My grandfather sat in stunned silence. Whispers started immediately. Did she borrow money? Maybe she finally found something. Victor watched all of it with narrowed eyes. When it was his turn to receive gifts, he leaned back, confident again. "Well," he said loudly, "looks like Elena finally figured out how to shop." A few people laughed. I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope. No wrapping paper, no ribbon, just white. "This one's for you," I said, holding it out. He blinked. "What's this?" "Open it." The room went quiet, not because I asked, because something in my voice shifted. Victor took the envelope, tapping it against his palm. "Always dramatic," he joked, sliding a finger under the flap. He pulled out the letter and unfolded it. "Let's see," he said, clearing his throat theatrically. "Thank you for applying to be a distributor." He paused. His smile faltered. Declined. Silence. Someone laughed nervously. What is that? Victor's eyes scanned the page faster now. His mouth opened, closed. At the bottom of the letter, his gaze stopped. The signature. The company name. The same one he had mocked, repeatedly, publicly, with confidence. The color drained from his face. He looked up at me slowly, like the room had shifted beneath him. I met his stare and didn't blink. Around us, the house held its breath. Victor swallowed hard. "Alina," he said, his voice suddenly unsure, "what is this supposed to mean?" I leaned forward slightly, just enough. "It means," I said quietly, "you should read it again." And this time he understood. Victor's fingers tightened around the paper, like it might disappear if he squeezed hard enough. "This isn't funny," he said, forcing a laugh that didn't land. "Very clever joke, though. I didn't know you had this kind of humor." I didn't smile. I didn't write it as a joke. The room stayed frozen. Even the kids had stopped moving. Victor looked around, searching for backup, for someone to laugh, to correct me. No one did. "You're telling me," he said slowly, "that this company," he tapped a letter, "this company turned me down?" "I'm telling you," I said, my voice steady, "that I turned you down." A murmur rippled through the room. My aunt whispered my name like a question. Victor stared at me, eyes sharp now. "That's impossible." I stood. "I founded it," I said. "I run it. I signed that letter." He shook his head, a short, angry motion. "You don't even have a job." A few people gasped. I exhaled through my nose. "You never asked the right questions." His face flushed red, then pale. "You've been lying to us?" he snapped. "No," I replied. "You just preferred your version." The silence after that was brutal. Victor tried to recover. He always did. "Well," he said, straightening his shoulders, "if that's true, then you made a mistake. I have connections, experience. You could have learned something." I met his eyes. "You mocked the company you applied to," I said. "You mocked the founder. You mocked me." He opened his mouth. I cut him off. "Applications are evaluated on alignment," I continued. "You don't align." That did it. His jaw clenched. His hands trembled. The man who filled rooms with noise suddenly couldn't find a word. Around him, faces shifted. Regret, shock, embarrassment. My mother looked like she was seeing me for the first time. My aunt wouldn't meet my eyes. Victor tried once more. "This doesn't leave this room." I smiled then, just a little. "It already did," I said. I picked up my coat. No one stopped me. As I reached the door, I heard Victor say my name again, softer this time. I didn't turn around. Outside, the air was cold and clean. My phone buzzed with a message from my operations lead. "Distributor slot filled. Strong candidate." I typed back, "Good." Then I walked away from the house, from the noise, from the label he tried to glue to me. Unemployed. Lazy. I left those words behind him, and I never went back.